This is David Rovix with a song for today. One songwriter's take on the history of the world, one song at a time. Available wherever you get your podcasts. On March 30th, 1976, Palestinians held a rare protest against ongoing theft of their land by Israelis. For daring to hold a peaceful protest, they were massacred by Israeli troops. This was the sort of response they thought likely, which is why such protests were so unusual back then. Fast forward to 2018, and the anniversary of this 1976 massacre, what became known as Land Day in the Palestinian calendar. Palestinian civil society held a protest they called the Great March of Return, a peaceful protest in the fundamental sense that among the many thousands of protesters no one was armed or firing guns. It was not a sleepy affair, but burning tires and throwing symbolic stones at tanks does not amount to an armed rebellion. The response of the Israeli military this time was yet another massacre of Palestinians of all ages. Undeterred, Palestinian civil society assembled every Friday after prayers every week and marched to the fence separating Gaza from what the Palestinians call 48, or the parts of Palestine that were originally declared by the Zionist army and their supporters in Europe and North America to be part of the new state of Israel in 1948. Gaza and the West Bank were occupied later in 1967. Every Friday, the IDF carried out another massacre of unarmed Palestinian civilians of all ages. The Israeli press and much of the Western media, as well, asked why Palestinian parents would allow their children to go to protests where they knew that the Israeli troops would open fire. The massacres were never called massacres, but generally referred to as clashes. The weekly death toll became so mundane in the eyes of the jaded imperial Western media that after the first few weeks the massacres were only mentioned if the death toll was well into the double digits and included at least one or two medics and journalists. Don't dare suggest that the policies of the self-proclaimed Jewish state have anything to do with the rise of anti-Semitism in Europe. Everyone else is supposed to be able to tell the difference between a supporter of Israeli massacres and a regular Jew, and they're not supposed to be confused by the fact that the Jewish state calls itself the Jewish state. If they fall for that bait, they're anti-Semites. Confused? Then you're probably an anti-Semite.
Another day, another massacre of children. Children who have nothing good to show since their families became refugees so many years ago, when Zionists had launched their latest annexation, which awakened the resistance of the Palestinian nation. And they called it Land Day. For the day the land was stolen by the new crusaders. For the day the land was stolen by the new crusaders. Another day, another massacre of children, with traumatized survivors of Nazi genocide, killing traumatized survivors across a new divide, a divide that was created by killing kids and taking land, with a twisted kind of logic only death can understand. And they called it Land Day. For the day the land was stolen by the new crusaders. For the day the land was stolen by the new crusaders. Another day, another massacre of children. Children they call terrorists for throwing stones at tanks. Children they imprison for refusing to give thanks for the fact that no one is running gas chambers quite yet, though it's hard to see how much more like a death camp this can get. And they called it Land Day. For the day the land was stolen by the new crusaders. The day the land was stolen by the new crusaders. Another day, another massacre of children.
This has been a song for today from David Rovix, making popular education popular again. If you go to davidrovics.com, you can hear lots of other episodes of this and other podcasts, see where I'm touring next, and get on my email list. You can also click on CSA there on my website and join my community-supported art program, which is mainly how I get by in the free streaming era. I hope to see you sometime soon again here on the internet or on the road and hopefully in the streets.